the options portfolio really is everything from inside the box, so memory, hard drives, processors, controllers, SSDs, all of that stuff. And then everything outside the box, racks, UPSs, PDUs, KVM switches, all the infrastructure stuff, and that's the stuff we're going to cover today, is that outside the box piece of it. From a real high level, you guys know this, I'm sure. It's not anything new, but the one thing I lean on really heavily is this. There's nobody in this world, absolutely nobody, buying a 1U or a 2U server or a blade chassis and sitting it on a desk somewhere. We know this. If it's a 1U server, it's going in a rack every time, 100% of the time. And it's a really simple conversation to have anytime you're talking about servers, anytime you're quoting servers, to say, hey, where are you putting this? And, if we're not asking that question every time, we're losing that business, because they're putting it in a rack. And if they don't buy that rack from you, they're buying that rack somewhere. That's your revenue, that's your margin walking out the door. So I want to make sure that we do this every time, that every time it's a rack mount server, we had the rack. We got the rack. Me, I'm an HP guy, so I want that to be an HP rack. But as an Insight person, I just want it to be a rack. I sold them. I don't care. I just need to make sure that I'm getting that business, because that business is going to somebody. Let's make sure it's me, right? So that's kind of the initial, why, right? So if I do these presentations, I always want to kind of cover three big things. What's in it for me? What's in it for my customer, and where do I go for help? And I think you guys know where to go for help. You've got Trey. We've got a resource that is always available at issoptions@hp.com. I hope you guys know that inbox. I'll bring it up again later, but if nothing else, write that down, issoptions@hp.com. The guy that mans that inbox for us, Ryan Insel, is a huge resource. We all lean on him heavily. Knows his stuff, has been doing this a long time. He sits inside in Houston, and if he doesn't know the answer, he knows all the product managers. He knows exactly where to go to get an answer if he's in over his head for any reason. But he 98% of the time can answer the question, because he's seen the question before. If you have a question, there's a very good chance he's had that question in the past and knows the answer. So I lean really heavily on that. I know Trey leans really heavily on Ryan and that inbox. I hope that you guys are using it too, because it is a huge resource for us. So that's kind of the where to go. You go to Trey first and foremost. He's your guy. And then you've got Ryan Insel, and you've got a whole, we've got a whole product team that can help you with all this stuff as needed. But we'll dive in. So, the what's in it for you is really revenue and margin. You want this revenue, you want this margin. That's how we're paid. That's what we care about. We want to make sure we're winning this business. And that's the biggest piece of it. And then we have spiffs and other things that I'm sure Trey can tell you about over time and make sure you're getting paid. That's what's in it for you. The rest of this is product information, and we've got an hour and a half. I don't think we're going to use an hour and a half, but the rest of this is product information, and that's all the what's in it for your customer. This stuff, how do we sell this? What do we listen for? And what are the specifics? And we've got a pretty detailed slide deck here that I'll go through that really is focused on that stuff. But if I'm not covering the main what's in it for you and what's in it for and where to go, then I'm in trouble. So I always kind of get that out of the way before we even dive into the slide deck. Does that make sense? Is that helpful?
It is. And Dave, before you move on, can I just make one quick point? I figured out, I've been tooling around with Link as Dave's been talking, and I hit the record button. So I kind of feel like whenever we're recording, it's the right thing to do is to let everyone know. So just be mindful that I'm recording this session. No big deal. I certainly hope to anyone.
Well, now I'm embarrassed, and I need to make sure I watch my tongue.
That's exactly why I said it.
Well, good. So we'll dive in, and this first slide is some marketing stuff, marketing fluff, but it is important, and it's really what we preach at HP, right? When you hear converged infrastructure, that means a lot of different things. Obviously, there's literally a converged infrastructure play that we have where, in a rack, you've got, all the server storage networking and everything that you have, and you can kind of buy on one SKU. And when we talk about converged infrastructure, that's one thing that we can talk about. But really, what we're trying to say is HP can be someone that can provide everything for you, basically all your needs in the data center from outside the box to inside the box. And if you've ever seen, the stuff that comes out of our factory express, where we're really putting all that stuff together and doing all the cabling and everything else, it's a beautiful solution that you can, once the rack shows up, wheel it into place, plug it in, and it's up and running with all the server storage, networking, everything in it, and ready to go for you. It's pretty impressive what we're able to do out of our factories in Houston on that side of things. But really, when we talk about rack and power, the reason this is important to us, because when we look at our options business, it's only like between 5 and 10% of the options revenue. Most of our options revenue and margin comes from memory hard drives and processors, and a little bit from SSDs and some of the other things that we do. The infrastructure stuff is a pretty small portion, right, of the pie, but it's hugely important in how we win over our customers to be HP long-term customers for us, right? So when we talk about things that we can do on the infrastructure side, from intelligent location discovery, power discovery, how all of that stuff fits into HP OneView, it really is the foundation of how we help our customers to manage everything in their data center from one place, right? You'll hear it from a lot of different vendors, a single pane of glass. HP OneView is really headed towards being a true single pane of glass to manage your servers, your storage, your networking, but also your infrastructure. And that's hugely important. As servers run hotter, as servers require more and more power, the information that we can gather to help people make decisions on the growth of their data center and the management of all those things in the data center is hugely important. So if we can provide tools that people can make decisions based on, then we're winning business for them, and we're finding that gives us the tie to have an HP customer for life, right? That's the stuff that's really important to us, is that foundational management piece of what we do. It's really what sets HP apart from our competitors on the server side, on the storage side, on the networking side, and on the infrastructure side. So that's why we spend a lot of time on this, even though maybe from a revenue perspective it's not the biggest piece of our business. It is the foundation. So we'll dive into it. Obviously, this slide, like I said, is a little bit of marketing fluff, but we can we'll dive into the real business here. So here's what I'm going to cover in this. The racks themselves, of course. We've got a big piece on power distribution. Especially, I'll spend some time on the intelligent power that we have. A little bit of time on KVM, which used to be the product I owned and is still out there. We've got some new products there as well. Even though that business is, a lot of that's taken over by ILO, but there's still a ton of customers out there selling KVM, so we will spend a little time on it. And then on the UPSs and power, battery backup power, and the full line of stuff that we have there. I know you guys are really familiar with that, so I'm not going to spend a lot of technical time going over that stuff, but I will show you the full portfolio so that you can see what we have and know that it's there. And if you need help with that stuff, you can come to us. Does that sound like a good use of our time? Is that all right? Like I said, I don't think we need the full hour and a half, but that's really where we're going to spend the time. Is that good? Anything else that you guys want me to cover?
That works.
Mm-hmm. Sounds good.
Sounds good.
Sounds good, Dave.
All right, we will dive
Sounds like
in.
a plan.
Start with the rack, man, and that's the most important thing. I think I said it once before, and I'll probably say it 5 more times. There's nobody buying a one-use server and sitting it on a table. We got to make sure that we're getting that rack, and really, when you look at our rack portfolio and what we're able to do with it, it really does start to set us apart, especially when we start talking about location discovery and some of the things that we do from the management side, where we start to see that even though it's a 42U rack and it's just bent metal like everyone else's, ours is almost like it's think of it almost like a blade chassis where you got some management built into it and you're doing some things with that rack that maybe isn't just bent metal anymore. So we'll talk a little bit about that. Of course, all of the stuff that we talk about today, from a really high level, you've got to be able to to tell your customers this, and that's that it's all going to be tested by HP, it's all HP branded, and it's all going to inherit the care pack of the server. And hopefully you guys know this message already. We lean really heavily on it because it's another differentiator for us. You guys sell servers every day. You're really good at including care pack services on there. Same day, 7x24, 4 hours, something along those lines, right? So always a warranty level above what just comes with the server, which would be next business day. All of the options that we talk about today and all of the ISS options that we sell, whether it's inside the box or outside the box, are going to inherit the care pack of that server. Nobody else does this, not Dell, not Lenovo, not IBM. It doesn't matter who. Nobody else does this level of care. So if you've got same day 7x24 on a server, something goes wrong with the rack, not that we have a lot of rack issues, it's just bent metal, but something goes wrong with a UPS, a PDU, a KVM switch, the memory, the hard drives, processors, any of the options that we've sold, you call in, you've got, first of all, one call to make, one throat to choke, they like to say, right? So one call to make, and you say, here's the problem I'm having, and they say, okay, the problem is the KVM switch. If it's connected to a server that has 4-hour response on it, we're out there in 4 hours to do the fix, right? And you didn't have to buy any additional warranty on that KVM switch or on the UPS, whatever it is we're talking about. If it's connected to a server with that care pack on it, it inherits that care pack. It's a huge selling point for us, and one that is the first thing I bring up with customers if they're like, well, why would I buy an HP versus APC or Triple Light or whatever? It's the first thing I mention is, hey, you have these care packs on the servers. If you put something third party in there, inside or outside that box, they're not going to inherit that care pack. If it's HP, it's going to inherit it, and that usually gets us past that first why HP kind of hurdle. So that's a big one. Obviously, tested is a big one too, and this applies to everything. So it's why I spend some time on it up front, and then we'll dive into the actual stuff. So our full rack lineup, we've got some entry-level racks. We've got that V142. We've got mainstream racks, the 11,000 series G2 rack. This is the rack that you should be leading with every time. In my opinion, every single time you should lead with that. We have an enterprise level rack, which is our intelligent rack that launched when we launched Gen 8 servers. It doesn't get you much more than the 11,000 series rack. Really, the difference between the two of them is the amount of weight that it can hold in shipping, right? So if we use Factory Express and we put it on a shock pallet and we load it up with servers and ship it fully loaded so that when it gets there, they can just roll it into place and plug it in. The intelligent rack can actually hold more. It can hold, I think, 5,000 pounds or something. It's a crazy amount, like an amount that maybe 1 or 2% of your customers would ever need to put into a rack. It's crazy. So lead with that 11,000 series rack. That's the cost-effective one. That's priced right where it should be in the market. It's the one that we should be selling left and right. And I have some more specifics on this stuff, and then, of course, we have a wide range of accessories, everything you would expect. Filler panels are obviously really important. You guys know all servers are designed to cool from front to back. And if you have gaps in the rack, that it's going to cause some airflow issues. So you want to make sure you always, wherever there's not a server or something else in a U space, make sure you put filler panels in there. You guys know this stuff. This shouldn't be anything new. Stabilizers, tie-down kits, if you're in a earthquake prone place, you need some of that stuff. Again, if you have questions about any of this, the accessories and any of that stuff, reach out to Trey, reach out to Ryan and sell at that ISSoptions@hp.com, and we'll help you find the right part numbers and all that stuff for whatever it is that you need. On the cooling side, we do have this modular cooling system. I'm not going to spend a ton of time on this. Has anybody, I'll ask this question, has anybody had an opportunity or had any conversations around the MCS with their customers yet?
We do get a request for these, but not as many actually.
Yeah, so it's a a pretty almost niche play. I mean, you're talking about bringing water into the data center. This is a water-cooled rack, so you need cold water in, hot water out, and a chiller outside the building. And there are some environments that it's actually more common than you think that they would have a chiller, that they would have water in and out. But it's a pretty unique play. But it's a very, very elegant solution, and the customers that are using it, the big data centers where we see it deployed, a lot of universities, places like that, with high-end blade environments. These things are designed to cool a ton of infrastructure, a ton of servers, without having any outside effect on the cooling of the building or the room. So it's an enclosed unit. There is no air in or out. It's not sealed hermetically, so it's not for like a shop floor where you really need to keep particles out and things like that. But from a cooling perspective, there's no air in or out. It is a closed loop system. What you see here is the 100, and you'll see it's a rack, looks just like our intelligent racks. And it basically is the same rack, only there's a layer of plexiglass in there so that there's no air in or out of it. Cold air comes in that front, goes out the back, and it goes through that unit you see next to the rack, where you've got the cold water in, the hot water out, and you're running air through some coils with a bunch of fans, and it keeps that air moving, circulating, and cold.
Hey, David, we have to do site survey when we have a request for these?
So yeah, there will be some. There are some fairly specific requirements as far as the condition of the water, the temperature of the water, that kind of stuff. If you have opportunities for this, reach out to us. We have resources to help you with it, and it's not something, it's something that Trey will hand off very quickly to somebody who does this all the time. But reach out to Trey, and he'll know where to go and who to engage, and we'll help you through it. All right. So here's the one. Then you can see on the far right here, there's two racks with that single unit. That's really what we see more often than not, is that MCS 200, where you have two racks fully loaded with equipment. It's designed to cool both those racks up to 50 kW of cooling, and that actually are not going to be split any which way. You can 50 kW in one rack and not do the two. If you do the two from one unit, it can be 25 and 25 or 45 and 5. It can do any which way, however you need it to do it. So very slick solution. Again, if you have opportunities for that, please reach out to us and we can help out. So here's a full line of racks, and I think we kind of showed this earlier, but this maybe gives you a little more detail. The 100 series rack, you guys don't sell a ton of these. I wouldn't suggest selling a ton of these. They're very inexpensive. The basic thought behind the 100 series, which is our V142, is that we've got customers out there in the kind of VSMB space, the very small businesses that are just, hey, I want the cheapest rack I can find. We're never going to move it. We're going to put it in place. We maybe will have 5 to 6 servers ever in our environment. We just don't have a lot going on. We need a basic rack. And what we found was that they would go to a third-party vendor and buy racks, and so we wanted to have a solution for those really small customers. But this rack has no casters, right? So no wheels at all. Once it's in place, it's in place. It cannot be shipped with equipment in it. It has to be shipped empty, and then you load it up. So it's a very no-frills, basic rack. Know that we have it. Know that if you have a customer that balks and says, hey, I don't need this, I just need some bent metal, that we have an opportunity or an option for them. So we're not walking away from deals because of that. But never lead with it. Never. It shouldn't be the rack we're selling a lot of, and we don't sell a lot of it. It's been out for like 3 years and has never really gained traction to be a big seller for us, which is, we should be leading with, like I said, where's this 11,000 series that you see next? This is our bread and butter rack. Obviously, everybody knows the 42U is the most common that we sell. The main reason 42U became the standard is a 48U or anything bigger is not going to fit through most doorways or fit into most freight elevators. That's where that 42U standard comes from. You want to get it in the building, go with a 42U. If you have a customer that wants a 48U, we can absolutely sell it to them, but I want you to ask them 3 times, are you sure, are you sure, are you sure? Because you do not want that thing getting out there and they can't get it in the building, they got to tilt it or whatever. It's bad news. So 42U is the bread and butter rack. Obviously comes in the 600 millimeter. That's your standard. That's what you've seen when you think of a rack and you picture a rack and you see the pictures of racks here. Those are all 600 millimeter wide racks. We do have an 800 millimeter option. Gives you a lot more space for cabling and for other things. You will have customers that want that wider rack for that reason. The 800 millimeter, you'll see the rails that you mount everything on are still at 600 millimeter across. You just have extra space on either side. 100 millimeters on either side for, like I said, cabling, whatever it is. Maybe you have networking equipment that you want to side mount in there, things like that. There are other ways to use the space within a rack, and some people like those wider 800 millimeter racks. The depth, the standard is always going to be that 1075. We do have the 1200, which is just a little bit deeper. Again, it's going to be more room for cabling and whatever else you want to be in that back part of the rack behind the servers. None of our servers require a 1200 millimeter rack, but a lot of people do want the deeper racks. So it comes in both. The other stuff that you see here should be pretty straightforward. I apologize that it looks like the presentation I have here is European because it's got kilograms instead of pounds. Which sorry about that. I should swap that out. I know I have one of these decks that has it in pounds, but I think I said before the Intelligence series I think is at 5,000 pounds, and the 11,000 series is up to 3,500. So if anyone wants to do some quick Google translate kilograms to pounds and make sure I'm right, you can, but I'm pretty sure that's what it is. And both the 11,000 series and the Intelligent Racks do have our location discovery services. If you haven't seen that, a presentation on that, I can pull up some slides on it and talk a little more in depth on it. I don't think this deck this deck doesn't have some in depth on that, but we have time. Did you guys want to look at that? Did you want me to pull up another presentation and show you the intelligent location discovery, how that kind of links into one view and all that stuff? I think it's really interesting stuff, and I think it is the stuff that sets us apart. And we have the time, but it's up to you guys. I'll let you direct what you want me to do.
It might be a good idea because the extra stuff you need with the ears and all that other good stuff for connectivity, so it might be a good idea to maybe touch on it, yeah.
Okay, let me see if I can pull up a different presentation real quick here. Hang tight. All right. Let me know if you guys can see it. It's uploading. There we go. You're probably all looking at the same little spinning balls that I'm looking at.
We are.
We'll give it a second. So the intelligent, and this deck that I'm going to pull up has the location discovery and the power discovery, and we're going to talk a little bit about that. While this is loading, I'll give you the high level. Here we go. Can you see that now?
There it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
So to put this in real simple terms, take a generic data center. It's got 1,000 servers in it, right? Just to use a nice round number, I've got a data center. I've got 1,000 servers. They're all in rows of racks. Standard data center, raised floor, everything you would think about, right? Hot aisle, cold aisle, basic data center. If I have 1,000 servers and I know in the next 2 quarters I need to add 500 more, there are a couple pieces of information I need to know to make that decision. Where I can go grow that data center, where I can add servers to it, right? The first piece of information I need to know is where do I physically have real estate? Where is there actual open use space in a rack so that I can add servers, right? If a rack already has its 42U and it's completely full, can't add anything more in there. I need to find that out, right? Where do I physically have space? Number 2, where do I have power capacity to go add more servers? So I could have a rack that looks like it's half empty from a use space perspective, but because what's in that bottom half of it is fully populated blade chassis, I can't bring any more power to that rack without causing problems, right? Without having to bring an electrician out, run more power into the room, all that stuff. So just because there's an empty space doesn't mean I have power capacity. So I need to know that, right? Location, power, and then thermal. So I could have, if I have a corner of my data center, let's say, that's already running pretty hot, pretty close to the thresholds of what my servers can handle, and I add more servers in that area, things are going to start to overheat. We're going to start to have problems. So those three pieces of information are hugely important for me to make decisions about where I can go add those servers. I've got 1,000 now. I need to get to 1,500. Where can I do it? I need those three pieces of data. Right now, for me to get that information, what most people will do is they'll hire consultants. Those consultants will come in, spend a week, 2 weeks, who knows, gathering all that information, figuring out where all that stuff is, figuring out where you have capacity to grow, and you're paying these people thousands of dollars a day. Thousands of dollars a day for a couple of weeks to get this information. If you started out with our location discovery, our power discovery, our thermal discovery, and all the stuff that we do really well on this side of the puzzle, I could have that information at your fingertips in a matter of seconds using HP's OneView software, right? And you can go make those decisions instantly without ever bringing in those consultants at thousands of dollars a day. So the stuff that I'm going to talk about, yes, it adds a lot of cost to your deals up front, but when you put it in those terms and you start having conversations around that of what we call data center infrastructure management, and if you see, I think that was the, wrong button. You'll see that was the title, DSIM, Data Center Infrastructure Management, right? This is kind of the buzzword that you'll hear about on this, right? If you are using all of our tools to do your data center infrastructure management, it makes things a whole lot easier for you. So we'll dive into a little bit of detail on this. Location discovery services. Basically, if you use our intelligent rack or our 11,000 series racks, and you use our Gen 8 or Gen 9 servers, you have the ability to do this, which is once you slide that server into place, the server knows what rack it's in, what U space in the rack that it occupies instantly. And it's your ILO chip inside the server that's gathering that information, feeding it to Insight Control or OneView or whatever it is you're using for management. And the picture that you see here, the screenshot that you see here, is actually the older Insight Control screenshot, but that's what you're going to see when you pull up Insight Control or OneView, is you'll see this image of your rack, and it'll actually show you exactly what's in that rack and in what use space it occupies. And all that's done instantly for you. So when you think about when people deploy servers now, typically they'll put a server in a rack. They've got probably a little like Brother P-Touch label maker. They're putting a label on that server. They're putting that information into a spreadsheet somewhere. It's a very manual process. It takes time. It's prone for error. By automating this using our intelligent location discovery, it is 100% error-free. You know it's right, and it's all automated for you. It saves you a ton of time on the deployment side, and it will always be accurate. So if someone moves the server, it automatically is going to be accurate, right? It's going to tell you exactly where that server is. So here's what it looks like. The servers that you see on the right are actually Gen 8 servers, where the server year was built in. Has those two little touch points that you see on there, and on the left you'll see the rack contact. So as soon as it slides in, those two things make contact with the little piece on the side of the rack, and that's how it all works. That little rack kit that is clicked into the side of the rack there with the touch points on it, just very minimal information on there. It's just a tiny little bit of non-volatile memory that basically about as much information as is on the magnetic strip on the back of your credit card, right? It's very simple data. This is the rack name. This is the use space in the rack that you're occupying. On the Gen 9 servers, you'll see there they call it the ear, the location discovery ear. It's an option. So you'll pull off the ear that came on it. You'll put this on there. It's an option that we should have SKUs for. It should be really easy. And then below that, you'll see that's how the discovery kit for the rack itself ships. That kit is designed to click into, like I said, either the 11,000 series or the Intelligent series racks. It'll click right into the side of the rack there. That's what it looks like. Any questions on that? So
does that give you the ability to take an existing rack and convert it into
If it is
Well,
an
no,
11,000
location.
series or an Intelligent series rack, yes. If it's an older rack, a 10,000 series or a third-party rack or the lower-end 100 series rack, no. It has to be either the 11,000 series or the Intelligent series rack. They're built with that little place for this to click into, right? It's a proprietary solution, so it's going to click only into those racks. You couldn't put it in some other rack, a third-party rack or an older 10,000 series rack. Fair enough? So that's what it looks like, and that's kind of how it works. The next piece of the puzzle then, you've got location discovery we talked about. Now we have power discovery. So just like with the servers that you're sliding in, it knows exactly where it is in the rack. If you've got our platinum power supplies that have the blue plug, anytime, let me see if the next picture, yeah, you can see this here. Here's one of our power supplies. It's got that blue plug. Anytime you see that blue on the plug, on the power cord, or on the PDU itself, you know we're talking not just about power, but we're talking about intelligent power. And if you look inside the little three-prong connector there, you can see what looks like 4 little serial connections, and that's what that is. That's our, it's basically a USB connection, right? A little serial connection that passes data through that power cord. So it's not just power, but actual data going through there. And what it does is as soon as I plug in a server, into our intelligent PDUs using all this intelligent location or intelligent power discovery, just like with the location, I know where it is. I get this diagram of where everything's plugged in, what's plugged into what power supply in what server is plugged into what PDU. And so, for instance, you always have redundant power in there. You'll have 2 power supplies and you'll have redundant PDUs. And if I plug in the 2 power supplies in the server to the same PDU, I'm going to immediately get an error message. Hey, you have a single point of failure here. I know that's not what you want, so go fix it. So immediately it's saving you from single points of failure. But in the long term, what it really gets you is as soon as it's plugged in, we know exactly what's plugged into where. I can manage that down to the outlet level, which means I can physically reboot servers remotely, all the stuff that I need from management, and I can start to understand what servers are drawing what power over time, and I can do some really neat stuff with that, right? Maybe I need to charge back to departments how much power they use, that kind of thing. I can do that based on the data I'm getting out of this, right? And it all feeds into OneView or Insight Control, whatever it is, just like the location discovery. This stuff automates and gives you true management of your power and what's going on and visibility to what's going on through our management tools like OneView. Questions on that? All right, we're going to plow through. And on the Gen 9 servers, you'll have to look. It's right now the intelligent power is only on, I can't remember which ones, but it's the pretty high-end power supplies. And so you'll just have to look and make sure if they want to use this that you're putting a power supply in the server that has the blue plug, as well as the intelligent PDUs and everything else. So talk to us. We can walk you through it and make sure you're getting the right thing to kind of make this stuff work for you. Here's what the PDUs look like. Again, you see the blue plugs. You know that's intelligent power if you're looking at the blue plug. And you can see on the power cord, maybe, it might be hard to see. It's a little blurry. But you can see where that connection is for the serial information going back and forth. Again, we can help you with the stuff if you need. So that's it. I'm gonna jump back to the other deck unless anyone has questions on the location discovery and the power discovery. All right, I'll take the silence as no questions. The last thing on here that I didn't really cover is thermal. All of the, from Gen 8 server to Gen 9 server, all of them have that, what we call a sea of sensors in there. It's constantly giving you thermal data. There are other ways to get thermal data as well. We have some sensors and things that you can put into the rack and and gather that data elsewhere too. But that stuff's going to be important. All of that's built into OneView. We have all those tools. It's just not a physical hardware thing that I'm going to kind of present today, if that makes sense. So let's go back to, hey, that worked. Everybody can see we're looking at racks again? Good deal. Wow, Link is working for us today, man. I'm happy. All right, so We're going to dive in. Man, the barbecue just arrived right next to me, guys. It smells really good. It's distracting me a little bit, I got to be honest with you. All right. So back into the slide deck that we had. We're going to talk a little bit about PDUs. You guys know what PDUs are. I don't feel like I need to spend a ton of time on this stuff. If you want me to dive into any of it, we can, but I feel like you know this. I feel like the biggest piece of the puzzle is sizing and understanding, when, how to size the proper, whether it's 3-phase, single phase, all that stuff. But it's not something I'm, going to present and talk through, because you guys probably do this every day. And if you have questions on it, you know where to go. Trey and Ryan and Cell can help you with sizing on this stuff. It should be pretty straightforward. But I wanted to kind of give you a lay of the land of what all products we have. Obviously, we've got, I guess this one kind of gives you an overview of all our PDUs. 0U or 1U, you know that they can be mounted in a 1U if they're designed that way. The 0Us are designed to mount kind of in the back of the rack, and they're on a little swivel so you can get them out of the way when you need to access servers. But they kind of mount in the sides. The full line of what we have, obviously the basic PDUs, this is exactly what you would expect. Really basic, cost effective. If you're quoting a rack, you should never quote a rack without including PDUs in there, even if they're the most basic of them. You've got to do it. They need power distribution in there. Obviously, we have monitored PDUs. These are going to give you the ability to see at the phase level. So if it's a 3-phase, you'll see per phase what power is being used. You've got the ability to monitor that stuff remotely and all of that. Managed PDUs gives you even more, another layer of management where you can actually do some power cycling, things like that. There's an option for that environmental sensor, like I talked about before, where you can start to get some temperature data that you can feed into OneView and make those decisions based on, understand where things are running hot, where you have headroom to grow and that kind of stuff. And then, of course, the intelligent PDUs, which we spent some time on already. A quick little rundown of what you get with all of these. I don't want to do speeds and feeds with you guys, but this should kind of give you some basic understanding of what we're talking about, from basic to monitor to manage to the intelligent. Does everybody know what LDAP refers to when you say LDAP authentication? You guys know what that means?
No, I'm not familiar. No.
Okay, it's really, once I say it, you'll be like, oh yeah, no brainer. So LDAP refers to your Active Directory, basically, right? So this gives you the ability to, most of the environments that we sell into have Microsoft Active Directory for defining user groups and all that stuff. So just like when you log into your laptop, that's Active Directory, and as soon as you're logged in, you have access to certain things and you don't have access to other things. And so when we start talking about things like PDUs or KVM switches or anything else that's going to sit on the network and be accessible remotely, you don't want just anyone to be able to access it, right? So you don't want some guy to be able to go shut down servers remotely because he has access to the network. You want only the IT guy that needs to have that access to have that access. LDAP lets you use, instead of having to go in and create, logins and usernames and passwords and stuff for each individual thing, you can just link it into your LDAP, into your Active Directory, and say this user group that's already defined by Active Directory has access to this, and so that's all that means. But it is really useful and really helpful to have that. Make sense? Yes. Yes. Say yes on mute, and I understood you said yes. Perfect. So we've got a full line of UPSs as well. We have a new direct flow UPS line, and I'm not going to go into huge detail on this stuff. Know that we have a full line of both low end, tower UPSs for kind of SMB, all the way up through all the rack mount 750. If you see a T in front, that's a tower model. If you see an R in front, it's a rack mount model. The RT3000, the RT2200 can both go either way. They actually have feet so that they can be stood on end. Oh wow, I saw a question come up. Anyway, sorry if I'm missing those questions. Interrupt me if you have a question, but let me know. Moving up through the line, obviously the R5000, R7000, that's the one I kind of do want to point out to you actually, is that R7000. The R7000 is designed, it's a single phase UPS. It is designed to go 1-to-1 with our C7000 blade chassis. It has all the outlets you need in the back so that you don't even need a PDU between it and the blade chassis. It's designed, like I said, 1-to-1 to give you a single phase option to power up a C7000. So just know that that's there. We in the past, you either had to go with three phase, or we didn't have one that kind of fit. The R5000 wasn't quite big enough if you fully populated the blade chassis. So that 7000 is designed to be in that blade chassis sweet spot for you. All the way up to that RP36000, that's really designed to power a whole row of servers. And if you have opportunities for that, a lot of times when you start talking about powering a whole row of servers, they'll have UPS for the whole room, and so they won't necessarily need something like this. But you'll have opportunities occasionally for this. And if you do, again, reach out to us. We can help you with sizing. We can help you close those deals. I don't expect you to be quoting and closing big, RP36000 UPS deals, but if you have them, if you uncover them, bring them to us, and we will absolutely 100% help you with them. A little bit about why HP on this stuff. The inherit the server care pack. I mentioned this right up front. This applies to everything that we talk about. I'm going to mention it again here. I'm going to mention it again later. I think it's hugely important for us. I don't need to go into detail about what it is. I already talked about it. So. Big piece that sets us apart on the UPS side is that 3-year warranty that includes the batteries. In the UPS space, even from the big time vendors out there, APC, Triplite, typically you get 1 or 2 years of battery coverage, and if you want a 3rd year, you've got to pay for it. And so a lot of times we'll have situations where we are probably a little bit more expensive on the hardware than maybe APC is for, let's say a 3000. And we'll look at it and go, okay, well, let me see the actual quote. And that came with 2 years, and so you've got a customer that says, well, I've got same-day 7x24 on my server, so I want same-day 7x24, and I need 3 full years on the UPS. And by the time you add the 3rd year and you upgrade both the years 1 and 2 and that 3rd year to same-day 7x24 to match what's on the servers, they are significantly more expensive than us. With ours, you didn't have to buy any additional warranty. It came with 3 years, and it automatically inherited that same-day 7x24. So all you had to buy was the hardware. So the hardware itself was a little more expensive, but by the time you add that other stuff in, we're winning those deals on price every time. And so please be aware of that. You look at a list price, and a lot of times people will go, yeah, I'm going to buy the APC, it's cheaper. But have these conversations. We can win those deals based on that stuff. So I think that's really important. The reason we can do a 3-year warranty on there is kind of how we charge the battery. You guys don't really need to know the speeds and feeds of how it's done, but most people use a trickle charge. We use, don't worry about it. Trust us that the way we charge our batteries helps us to have batteries last a little bit longer, and that's why we can cover them for 3 years like that. The 30-day pre-failure warning is hugely helpful as well. If you know 30 days before that your battery's not holding a charge as well as it should be, it gives you an opportunity to swap that out before you ever run into an issue with it. So that's helpful as well. And we've got a whole thing on the new line interactive. I don't want to go into speeds and feeds of all these models. And so please, if you have UPS stuff, bring it to us. Let us help you with sizing. Let us help you do that. Obviously, we've got full 3-phase models. This is the one in the rack is the 36,000 I was talking about earlier. We can talk about the how efficient they are. Obviously, people want to see this stuff. If you start having conversations around it, But on a presentation like this, to get into speeds and feeds when there's barbecue sitting next to me and I'm getting hungry is really, honestly, not something I want to do. I hope that's okay.
Well, and to be honest with you, I think one of the Eaton guys came in a few months ago and went into detail on a lot of that.
Yeah.
So
I'll let them
we
do that.
We get it.
Good. I'm glad you agree with me because my mouth's watering. We'll spend a little time on KVM.
Well, we know how to distract you. That's good.
Yeah, of course. It's killing me, man. It smells so good. Rudy's. All right. Everyone knows what a KVM switch is, yeah? Everyone can spell KVM, right? This isn't something new. Okay, we did launch a new line of KVM products, including the new LCD 8500. If you guys have been doing this a while, you know we had the TFT 7600, which was our 1U keyboard, mouse, and monitor tray that we sold for a long time. To be blunt, was crazily overpriced for what it was, and probably you didn't sell a lot of them for that reason because you can find much cheaper ones out there. With the new LCD 8500, I think we've priced a lot more aggressively. I think we have a solution here that actually you can sell, which makes me happy because it helps us, keep everything HP branded, which is always my goal. The new LCD 8500 and the new G3 KVM consoles, which I'll go into in a minute, all have the location discovery services on them now too. So because they're going in a rack, we want to know where they are and what's in that rack. If you're using location discovery, which we went into earlier, these have the little wing on there to give you that capability. So as soon as you slide them into the rack, they know where they are, and your one view can pull that information and actually show you this stuff, this equipment in the rack, which is pretty cool. The KVM switch also has the power discovery connector. So if you're using intelligent power, those blue plugs, it's got the blue plug on it. So it does that now too, which is pretty cool. The new G3, I'm trying to see if it doesn't have it on here. You see that KVM USB RAK. Basically, these new G3 low-end KVM switches, they're analog switches, which means they're local only. With that little USB, it looks like a thumb drive, but what it actually is it unlocks the capability of these KVMs to be IP KVMs. So now, once you plug that thing in, it actually can sit on the network and be a KVM over IP switch for you. So we've got a really inexpensive solution now that can go from analog to IP with just a little plug-in device. So that's nice. Pretty cool. Yeah, it's very cool.
What's the MSRP on this key, David? Just an idea, I mean.
I don't know. I don't have that.
Don't worry about it. I mean, but that's definitely a good a way to have an IP base.
Yeah, these just launched in March. They're brand new products. So these are the first slides we have on them. A little bit about KVM. Of course, a lot of people use ILO for this. ILO is going to give you, as long as you have ILO Advanced, it's going to give you remote presence of keyboard, video, and mouse over IP, right? So if you're on the network, you can see your servers remotely. So that's what a KVM over IP switch does. The one thing that ILO can't do is provide local connection, right? So if you want to use that TFT, if you want to be able to walk up to a rack and pull that, or not TFT now, it's an LCD, but you want to pull out that keyboard, mouse, and monitor tray, manage those servers right there at the rack, walking up to it and in front of the rack, you need a KVM switch to do that. You cannot do that through ILO. And so that's why people still use them all over the place. That's why I still see KVM deployed all over the place, and why we still sell them, honestly. All right. So there you see a picture of the new LCD and a guy working on it in front of a short rack. I don't need to spend a lot of time on this. Here's the full lineup of them now, what it looks like now. We still have a little 1x4 switch. We don't sell a lot of those. It's not rack mountable. It's really a desktop switch, and you can buy desktop switches cheaper than ours, to be blunt. I don't see these getting sold much. What we do sell a lot of is the new, is the low-end analog switches, which now have been replaced by the new G3 version of them. You either have an 8 or a 16, basically a 1x8, which would be one local connection and 8 servers. or the 2x16, which is 2 local connections, so 2 LCDs that you could connect to it, and 16 servers connected to it. And then that remote access key, which is just a USB key. And I think the key itself is like $700. So it actually does add significant cost to give you that IP connection, but it's cool that you can have an analog switch and upgrade it if you choose to later down the line. And it's still a very inexpensive way to get KVM over IP from my understanding. Of course, these new ones, like I said, have location discovery, power discovery. They can be mounted 1U, and all of them can be mounted not just 1U, but they could actually be mounted behind the LCD so that that whole solution takes up 1U of space, which is pretty nice. Or 0U, which means you can kind of mount it in the side of the rack and have it out of the way and not take up any U space if you want. Those G3 switches, no virtual media support on those. They are just keyboard, video, and mouse. The next one up, you'll see the server console switch with virtual media. So now not only is it KVM, but you can actually point a drive through there. So if you look at the LCD, it's got a USB pass-through on it. I can load data. I could load software. I could actually boot from it if I want. It'd be as if I had a USB drive plugged into the front of the server itself. And can do anything I would do as if I were plugged into the front, right? So it could be an optical drive, it could be a thumb drive, whatever you need. Through that switch, you can do that stuff. Then finally, our real enterprise class KVM over IP solution, which does all of that, has virtual media capabilities, all remote, and smart card support. If you have government accounts that use what they call a CAC, which is a common access card, where it's basically two-factor identification. You need a username and password plus a smart card in order to get into something. This will support that as well, which is helpful in the government space. Questions on this stuff? I think that's enough detail on KVM, probably. Cool. We're wrapping up here. It's been just almost an hour, so out of the hour and a half, that gives us 30 minutes to eat this yummy barbecue. Perfect, right? So the final piece of the puzzle, of course, the HP Care Packs, man. I've mentioned it now 4 times, 5 times. This is huge. We lean on this. It really does set us apart from everything else. Designed and developed for HP. You know, you guys know all this stuff, all the options in general are all built by other people for the most part. They're all OEM, right? The KVMs are made by Emerson. The racks are made by, or not the racks. The racks are made by Rittal. The UPS is Eaton. You know, they're all different companies. Memory, there's only a couple memory vendors out there. Hard drives, there's only a few hard drive vendors out there. All the stuff that we do that falls into the option space, for the most part, is made by other people. Having said that, the HP stuff is different, right? Our engineers not only are putting together the specs and designing stuff and working with those vendors to figure out exactly what HP wants, but they're testing it. And they know it's going to work, right? So the best example I have of this, we had a pretty big customer. They were like an auto parts store, 1,000 plus locations across the country. One server in each location, and they were putting just one really low-end UPS to back up that server, one in each location. The servers that they put in were Gen 8 servers. They had our Platinum power supplies, and our Platinum power supplies require a really nice true sine wave of power where they shut down. And so they deployed all these, and they bought a really low-end third-party UPS, one per location, to back up that server. And as power was going out, their servers were going out, and the UPS wasn't working. And they called HP, and they're like, hey, your server is not working with our UPS. And we kind of had to go back, look at it, do some testing, and recreate what was going on. And it turns out that low-end UPS that they bought that was third-party was not giving a true sine wave out of there. And this isn't what you need to know, and this isn't why I bring it up about our true sine wave that comes, all that. But what it is an example of is, look, if you bought the HP branded UPS A, it probably would have been around the same price, if not a little bit cheaper when you factor in that warranty stuff like I talked to before. But B, it would have already been tested, and you would have known going in it was going to work, and you never would have run into this issue. And that's huge. It's not about that it's a better product. It's about that we know it's going to work, that it's been tested, that it's certified, that HP server connected to this UPS, you're never going to have a problem. We've done the testing already. So that's a huge thing that we lean on, and you guys know, especially on memory and on other things, that our level of testing is higher than everyone else's, and that's just the way it is. If a memory chip doesn't meet our standard, we don't buy it from the memory vendor. It still gets sold. It's still out in the marketplace, and that's just the way it goes. So know that that's important to us. And obviously, we like to have a full line of stuff. My goal in life as an options person, and Trey's goal in life as an options person, is really, really simple. If you're selling HP servers, I want everything inside and outside that box to be HP branded. And I think we have the tools and the products and the people to help you make that happen. And that's all that's important to us. Questions, comments, corrections, additions? Barbecue?
Well, Dave, let me just say first and foremost, well done. Good job. I really appreciate you flying in from Austin. My apologies for not having a proper conference room for you, but as Dave has alluded to several times over, the barbecue is here for the Tempe, Arizona office. I do believe you should have pizza either on the way or there already in Chicago. So if there are any questions, this is an open platform. Go ahead.
Hey, this is Franklin. I am the question over to you, but I was working on a solution for rack with KBMs for multiple blade chassis and having an issue trying to get it sized. And I know there's a tool out there, and there's a website for it, but when you go there, it kind of doesn't let you get to it. So I was just wondering if you knew anything about it.
Dave?
For KBMs?
Yeah, no, for it's a HP blade system power sizer.
Okay, the power sizer to back it up for UPSs?
Specifically for the blade systems. So if you're trying to size PDUs and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So if you've got 3 or 4 chassis, how many PDUs do I need? How much power do I need? What size UPS? Yada yada.
Because the normal power advisor doesn't really cover it. So
no, and it's
there is a blade sizer tool, but it doesn't let you get to it. At least right now it doesn't.
So yeah, this may not be what you want to hear. My suggestion to you is to send it off to Ryan.
Yeah, I'm doing that right now.
Yeah, and I just also IM'd over the link that for the website. But if you click on the link that's supposed to take you to the power sizer, it says can't find that. So.
Yeah, and they're messing with it right now, and I'm not. I know there's a replacement coming. I that's above my pay grade for those tools. I wish our tools were better. I really do. I know they're not the best, but the best tool we have is Ryan. I don't mean to call him a tool, but
I'm gonna remember that one. Too late.
Okay, that's funny right there. I don't care who you are. And you've recorded it as well, so that makes it even better.
Ooh, yes. Yeah. So, any other questions?
That's all I had.
All right, cool. So, again, I do believe you have some pizza there in Chicago. Please enjoy. Any questions after we hang up today? I will reply to all, or you at least know where to find me in email. Being mindful, too, I'm also available to search for on, what is it called, InfoZone, InfoSearch? Whatever it is, the insight. Yeah, InfoZone. So don't hesitate to reach out again, Dave. Thanks for your help. But it sounds to me like we've reached the end of our time. If no one has any further questions, I thank you for joining us today.
And if you guys want to reach out to me, I'm really easy to find. I'm just dave.a@hp.com. So feel free.
Very good. Thank you very kindly, gentlemen.
Thanks, Dave.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.